It's amazing to me the transformation of the students. Honestly, it's for one. I mean, we do always just kind of joke that when they're going back they have to go back. We have first-year graduate students, so then they go back to the studio and the building, which is fairly impressive in the University of Utah. It's a big, brutal concrete building. But they always say, I always run into them at the studio the next year, and can we come back to Bluff? We really miss Bluff. I'd love to come back, and they do come back all the time. One of the more interesting things that have happened to me, that I've seen. First of all, the kids are mostly, until now we're getting more and more kids from all over the country, but mostly they're, white bread, kids from the Salt Lake Valley who have no idea what's going on down here. No idea that there's a third world country right on their back door. And that just blows their minds when they come out here to the res and see how people are living right in their own state. So that's an immediate impact, and then there's this love affair that develops usually with the kids. Obviously, the parents are often chosen again. I said educated, but the more ambitious people also get chosen because Rosie Joe was carrying 3 jobs. So she's gone, but the kids are always, around playing, jumping in the wheelbarrows, hanging on the students' backs, just playing around, and so there really is this incredible affair that happens, and especially with Rosie Joe, that group actually, we figured out that we'd done some things wrong with some of the walls on the north side. So they took an entire week, the whole class took an entire week off of their work, after, 2 years later after they'd gotten out of school, came back down, had all the materials donated, and changed out the roof. Changed out the whole wall system, because we'd had acrylic and straw inside of it, and it all settled, and it was rotting out. The acrylic was breaking. That was a terrible material for here. So we came back down with polycarbonate and used foam for the insulation. And then they came down again and helped out with the roof. And there were some issues with the roof. So they'll take entire weeks off of their work and come back down and work for Rosie Joe. And Rosie Joe she makes rugs. She weaves rugs, and she's woven, I think, rugs for 4 or 5 of the students already, and me, thank God. So it's been really nice. Then, I don't know, we talked, I've heard everybody talk a lot about what happens then after, that second year. We haven't been, we're still a fledgling program compared to a lot of them. We've only been here in Bluff for 5 years, so I can't really tell, except when I've been back to New York and some of the kids who have jobs back there, they invite me back to speak to their firms and things like that, and they get fairly choked up about it. But there isn't, unless you're really a complete self-starter, there isn't really anywhere to go except back to the cubicle, it seems like, for this internship. And I really like what Brian Bell's doing with Design Core, and I know he was a disciple of Sam Mo's too. And if we could get something like that going, I'd really like to be a part of that out here in the West and help Brian work his Design Core out further west. That's important. And I think that the students are changed enough, but they really there's only the cubicle to go to, at least around here. Or start your own design build firm, which is pretty tough, especially in this climate.
So did I throw too much at you there?
Yeah, no. When we first started out, like I said, when we were getting our toes wet and things, we built some bandstands for Park City, which I thought was a pretty fascinating project, because you know, in Park City, in the places near where we were going to put these bandstands, which was really only trying to generate more outdoor dining and things like that. You know, more excitement during the summertime in Park City because it's a ski area. Well, there were people who sued the city, and you know, the whole city council, the whole planning commission, and even me, for putting these bandstands up. And I thought that was, the students had to go through the whole process of going through the planning staff, planning commission, and yet to the city council. So I thought what's interesting to me is to show these students, architecture students, that what we've done previously, I think, is we falsely present to the students that everybody's going to come out and be Rem Koolhaas or Frank Gehry or, you know, some big star architect, or at least, you know, only design, you know. And we all know that, you know, 5% perhaps of the students coming out of architecture program will be designers, and everybody else has to find some other niche within the industry, I think. And so I was hoping that they would understand that, you know, often architects, at least, you know, the way we've done it previously, architects really aren't that influential on what gets built. It's these planning staffs, these HOAs, you know, all this sort of stuff. So there's an interesting zone, I think, for architect-trained people to become, you know, we should be politicians. We should get into the planning area. We should be doing a lot more than just thinking, well, I'm going to go out and, you know, create these unbelievable Guggenheims or whatever. And yeah, I think that it is changing. There is a groundswell going on. There are students who've been through DesignBuildBLUFF who, Mitch, who was on the Rosie Joe houses, actually stayed here in Bluff and is working with this program. And in the last 2 years, there have been students who have gone off rather than going to these cubicles. They've gone off and started their own little design build practices and, you know, doing remodels and things like that. So that's very exciting to me. There's a group of 4 of them who went off and did it 2 years ago. And last year, and now their kids students are teaching. Several that have gone through this program are teaching at the school, and so that's bound. Their influence, they're being influenced by DesignBuildBLUFF, is probably going to change the way they're teaching the next group of students coming up. In fact, I was just in a jury the other day with one of my former students who's teaching, you know, the basic design. And he's always talking about DesignBuildBLUFF and how that's, you know, the best education you're ever going to get at this school. So, you know, we're going to be inundated, and that's going to be a problem. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems I foresee, really, is unless our admissions group can get it down, the dean can dial this thing in, we're going to have 40, 50 students who want to come down here and do this. And in fact, because of DesignBuildBLUFF, they are starting a more urban design build program through the University of Utah, just because everybody wants to do this and not everybody can. It's, you know, a lot of, like here in Utah, with the Mormon Church, kids go on missions, so, you know, my students are first-year graduate students, but their average age is probably 26, 28, something like that, and they're often married, often have kids, so it's very difficult to get, you know, for a student to explain to his spouse that he's leaving for 6 months, especially, you know, when half of them have kids that are, you know, younger than 3, and some are expecting, and, you know, so it's difficult. We're starting to get more and more women. I'd say generally it's been about, you know, 10 to 15%. Now this year I think we have 5 out of 18 or 5 out of 17.